to get us through a little quicker. So Matthew 25:14, Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his own ability, and immediately he went on a journey." So remember that parables are truths that Jesus gives in the Bible for us to learn something by. And the parable is so that we can understand it. They're things of God, but makes it easy for us to understand. Let's see. "And he gave one 5, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability." Verse 16, "Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. So he invested what was given to him. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. He invested what was given to him." The focus is not on how many talents they were given. One was 5, one was 2. That wasn't the focus here. It's each according to his own ability, which is very comforting. God knows us. He knows what we're capable of and what we're not. And so he had given. And then, but he who had received 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. Now here it specifically says money. So it's it can be a gift or a talent, but it here specifically says money. And so after a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts, and he who received 5 brought another 5 and said, "Lord, you gave me 5, and I have gained 5 more." And then the second one, he gave 2, he said, "I've brought you 2 more." And the master said, "Enter into the joy of the Lord." Then down in verse 24, "Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, 'Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed.'" So keep that in mind. Yikes. To his master, he said this. "And I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours." But look at the response here. "But his Lord answered and said to him, 'You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, I gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back with my own interest. Therefore take the talent from him, give it to another, for to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he did have will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So very, very harsh response from the master, right? And we can look at that and think, why? The other 2 servants did good. Why did this third guy just hide it? He said he was afraid. Now, the master called him a wicked and lazy servant. So maybe he was just wicked and lazy, but in my mind, I want to know what brought him there. Why? Why? When he had 2 others that were given, why? So think about what that servant said. "I knew you were a hard man." And he basically said you gathered where you sowed not. He said he was prosperous. He was wealthy. He was prosperous, even if he didn't apply a whole lot of effort. So the master, he had a view of that master And he said he was afraid, and he buried what was given, and it basically was wasted. He did not invest it. So in looking at that, I thought this man's perception, I call it perception, it was wrong. He didn't understand his master, right? He shouldn't have had fear. There is a good fear, godly fear, which is respect. And in that kind of fear, you would invest it. And he had the other guys to follow the example of. So we need to make sure this truth applies to us, that we have a good perception and understanding of the Master, who is Jesus, right? He is God. He is Jesus, our Lord. And we have to have a good understanding. So